Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Gaur Premanande Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pricharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nistapreshu Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Can I announce about the Hindi translation? Okay.
हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा। तो महाराज की जो कक्षा है वो इंग्लिश में होगी, अंग्रेजी में होगी। तो जिन भक्तों को हिंदी अनुवाद चाहिए वहाँ पे पीछे भक्त हिंदी अनुवाद कर रहे हैं, आप वहाँ जाके बैठ सकते हैं जिनको हिंदी में क्लास सुननी है। So the class will be given in English. So those who want translations, they can sit accordingly. Chinese translation going on here and Hindi going on here. Hare Krishna.
Now this verse on the board, this is verse number 21. Is this the verse or is it number 20? I was told 23, 24. No? Okay. That's 23. Okay, so we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, chapter number 20, entitled The Rainy Season and Autumn. Text number 23. We'll read first. There's no purport, then we'll read 24. Jaloger nirabidyanta setavo Varshatishvare Pasandinam Asadvatnar Vedamarga Kaloyata Jalokner Nirabadyanta Setavo Varshatishvare Pashandinam asadvadhar Vedamarga kaloyata Jalagner nirpidyanta Setavo varshatishvare Pashandinam asadvadhar Vedamarga kaloyata. Others can chant. One more. Chant. Jala Agai, by the flood water. Nirabidyanta, become broken. Setava, the dikes. Varshati, when he is showering rain. Ishware, Lord Indra. Pashandinam, of the atheists. Asadvadai, by the false theories. Vedamarga, the paths of the Vedas. Kalau, in the Kali Yuga. Yata, as. Translation. When Indra sent forth his rains, the flood waters broke through the irrigation dikes in the agricultural fields. Just as in the Kali Yuga, the atheists' false theories break down the boundaries of Vedic injunctions. There is no purport, so I'm going to read text number 24. Vyamunchan vayubir nunna bhutebhyas chamritam gana yata shisho vishpataya kale kale dvijerita Vyamunchan, they released. Vayubi, by the winds. Nuna, impelled. Bhutebhya, to all living beings. Cha, and. Amritam, their nectarian water. Gana, the clouds. Yata, as. Ashisha, charitable benedictions. Vitpataya, kings. Kale kale, from time to time. Dvija, by the brahmanas. Irita, encouraged. Translation. The clouds, impelled by the winds, released their nectarian water for the benefit of all living beings. Just as kings, instructed by their Brahmana priests, dispense charity to the citizens. You can all repeat. The clouds, impelled by the winds, release their nectarian water for the benefit of all living beings, just as kings, instructed by their Brahmana priests, dispense charity to the citizens. Purport. Srila Prabhupada comments, in the rainy season, the clouds, tossed by the wind, deliver water that is welcomed like nectar. When the Vedic followers, the Brahmanas, inspire rich men like kings and the wealthy mercantile community to give charity in the performance of great sacrifices, the distribution of such wealth is also nectarian. The four sections of human society, namely the Brahmins, Kshatriya, the Vaishya and the Sudras, are meant to live peacefully in a cooperative mood. This is possible when they are guided by expert Vedic Brahmins who perform sacrifices and distribute wealth equally. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Anyamanobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Nitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Korange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Piye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is a very important chapter in the 10th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, describing the autumn season. Of course, you all are aware of how pleasing it is when autumn comes. After the hot summer, the hot, dry, and long summer which you experience here, and then the autumn comes and the rains come, and it's cooling and pleasing, and so many nice things happen in nature. So Srila Prabhupada took advantage of this chapter to, at one point Srila Prabhupada was planning a trip to Japan. It did not actually take place, but Srila Prabhupada was planning. There was some possibility that Srila Prabhupada would go to Tokyo and take part in a presentation of Vedic culture So Srila Prabhupada was planning to have illustrations drawn from the different verses here in this chapter. And Prabhupada personally did write purports on the different descriptions which are given here in this chapter. Afterwards, Srila Prabhupada was not able to go to Japan. It didn't happen. And the book never got published until Tamal Krishna Goswami took up that work. Later on, after Prabhupada had left the world, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, when he first came to Hong Kong, that was one of the things which he did, that he arranged first of all a Chinese artist to draw the illustrations, and then the book was published. That book is there, Light of the Bhagavat. Have you seen that book? It's currently may not even be in print, but I think it's the only BBT book which is not in print for some reason. But anyway, it's a very important book. You should try to get a copy of the book, and you can read the beautiful purports and see also the illustrations which go with it. So Srila Prabhupada was meditating deeply on Srimad Bhagavatam, and this is one chapter which Srila Prabhupada really absorbed his mind in, this particular chapter, this 20th chapter describing autumn, because so many nice points are made about the proper mood in the society. First of all, this morning we read how Indra sends rains, and with the heavy rains, sometimes the different dikes which are there in the agricultural fields. You all know how in India the rice fields are more in the rice fields, but I don't know about the wheat fields. Here, of course, in central India, you don't grow rice. But over in Bengal, Orissa, and in South India, we see the rice fields. And they have dikes. They have these mud walls there to keep the water in, which is important for growing rice. So sometimes there will be a torrential storm, and the dike may be broken. So Srimad Bhagavatam says that this is just like in the Kali Yuga. Atheistic false theories break down the boundaries of Vedic injunctions. There are a lot of atheistic theories propagated in the world today. And Srila Prabhupada, as the Acharya, as the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, in presenting the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, in writing his purports on the scriptures, was very conscious of the different atheistic theories and constantly preaches to us against them. He preaches to us. Of course, a common atheistic theory is life comes from matter, right? And Srila Prabhupada therefore was very concerned about preaching to the scientific community. And he established the Bhaktivedanta Institute, and he wanted that the educated devotees who had a scientific education, that they would also preach to the scientific community and get them to understand that there is no possibility of life coming from matter. That life, as pointed out in the book which is regularly available, life has to come from life, not just from chemicals alone. You can keep the chemicals sitting for billions of years. You will never get life. The scientists, of course, they're always claiming in the future. And Prabhupada called that the post-dated check. that today I'm a poor man, I have no money, but in the future I will give you crores. How is it possible? If today I'm so poor, I cannot even buy a cup of tea. Of course we don't buy tea, but you cannot even, we don't have a few rupees, but in the future I will give you crores. So the scientists, Prabhupada would say, let them produce something. Of course that's only one atheistic theory. Other atheistic theories are, life finishes with death. At the time of death, everything is finished. Prabhupada went to Moscow and met Professor Katosky, the head of the Asian Studies Department. And Prabhupada was preaching to him about whatever we remember at the time of death that will carry us into the next life. And the professor looked at Prabhupada and said, "Oh, Swamiji, at the time of death, everything is finished." So this is the atheistic theory. People think like that. They don't understand. There's a spiritual particle which is never annihilated. So Prabhupada was constantly preaching against these atheistic theories. There's a lot of atheism around. Prabhupada was just sometimes Prabhupada would just present basic medical science, but even people would have difficulty to accept it. Just like Prabhupada would point out that men and women are different. Because Prabhupada was preaching in America in the 1960s and 70s, and at that time there was a women's liberation movement, and that the women were, becoming more and more prominent in society. And Prabhupada comes along, and Prabhupada is preaching, that women should be cared for, women should be protected, women should be faithful to their husbands, they should be protected by their father when they're young girls, they should be taken care of by their husband in the middle life, and later in life they should be looked after by their son. And Prabhupada also explained that the brain of the woman is different size from the man's brain. So these things, this was medical science, common knowledge to Prabhupada, but to Western atheistic people, this is unthinkable, and this cannot be, this is very hard for them to accept. So there were so many challenges to Prabhupada's preaching. But Prabhupada understood this is Kali Yuga, and in Kali Yuga people are not very intelligent. They have poor intelligence. So Prabhupada was trying to give them some good brain. Right? Sometimes devotees would be accused of brainwashing. And Prabhupada said, yes, we are washing the brain because it's very dirty. So we have to clean the brain. Okay, so then text number 24 describes about how the clouds, under the influence of the strong wind, release water for the benefit of all beings. Just like, the summer is very hot and dry here. Kanpur is not very far away from Mathura, so climate is similar, very hot and dry. Krishna, here in Srimad Bhagavatam, we're hearing about Vrindavan, the gopis and so on, the description of autumn, not very different from Kanpur, because you're also hot and dry in the summer here, very difficult, dry climate, dusty. And then the autumn comes and the rain falls and you feel relief. and the Bhagavatam here, it's described that this is just like the kings instructed by the Brahmanas giving charity to the citizens. So, of course, this is a very unusual thing to happen. Nowadays, of course, we don't have that kind of culture where the kings, there are no kings in this Kali Yuga. There were kings some time ago, but the government took everything away from them, right? Deservedly, probably, because the kings were not fulfilling their duty as the Kshatriyas. When you have a good monarch, when you have a good ruler, then there's no problem. Just like during the times of Lord Ramachandra, everyone was happy, everyone was cared for, nobody had any complaints about the government. But we know today, all over the world, people always get unhappy about one government and they want to change for another government, and then another government. Because the modern times we have what is called democracy. And Prabhupada altered the name a little bit and called it demon crazy. And because he said democracy is giving power, giving the strength of choosing the government to and putting it into the hands of people who are not qualified to actually guide or to select a qualified person. Just like we know in India, soon there's going to be an election, right? Because you have an election, you get a government, 4 years or something, and then an election, and then a new government comes, and then it's all done by the people. And the people, of course, are not very qualified to choose what is the best government. And they will simply select the person who promises them the most sense gratification. If somebody comes along and said, if you elect me to your government, if you put me in charge of your government, I promise you, we will stop all gambling, meat eating, intoxication, and illicit sex. Then you will never win the election. Nobody wants that. Everybody wants to, they want these things more and more. They are thinking that is the real pleasures in life. So the government, they talk about, the governments today all over the world, they talk about economic development, right? And yes, we want economic development. Economic development simply means sense gratification. More sense gratification. If we talk to people that we want less sense gratification, we want more austerity, oh, no, go away. We don't want your government. We want the sense gratification government. So the politicians today, they all have to promise people sense gratification. We will develop the country so that you can enjoy more. Right? What will you enjoy? Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. This is the business of the animal society. The animals are also eating and sleeping and mating and defending. And the government are promoting this. Better eating. How much can you eat? How many chapatis can you eat? How much rice can you eat? So, where does the sense gratification end? Oh, we want to eat special things. Yeah, what? Meat, fish. We want chicken. We want beef even. This is Kali Yuga. And because of these things, the whole country goes to hell. The cows are not protected. We think the cow is just there to eat. We love the dog and we kill the cow. This is the Kali Yuga. People do not know what is the proper standard of human civilization. So here in this verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's describing that there should be the leaders of society, kings and wealthy mercantile men. In other words, you know, the big Vaishyas, just like this temple. Who built the temple? It was built by the donations from many wealthy people. I saw the names, there's plaques there as we come in the temple, the names of different donors, people who are all well situated materially, who contributed their money for the construction of this temple. That is very good. That is proper use of wealth. You get some wealth, we have to know how to use it. We should use it for the service of Lord Krishna. But unfortunately, most people today, they don't know how to use wealth. How do they use it? Some people, they go to Thailand to enjoy. What do they enjoy there? I don't like to mention. Horrible things. People like they're thinking, this is enjoyment, this is pleasure. We're already traveling many places. The purpose of traveling, of course, of a devotee is to deliver the holy name, to preach Krishna consciousness. But ordinary people, conditioned souls, their traveling is simply for eating, sleeping, mating and defending. They don't know how to use their wealth. You give them money and they don't know how to use it properly. So in the Vedic society, there were kings. The kings would take taxes from the people. And then the kings would use that taxes to perform big sacrifices and to build big temples. Therefore, in the past, we see there were great temples built by kings. That is proper use of wealth. You get some money, you use it to build a nice temple for the worship of the Lord. And you put on a festival for His devotees. And just like we're having tonight. That is proper use of wealth. People may complain, oh, what a waste. Why don't we feed the poor? Prabhupada said, that does not solve the problem. If you simply feed the poor, the one that you feed them today, tomorrow they're still hungry. Right? So that doesn't solve the problem. The real problem in the society is that we have not worshipped the Lord properly. The poor people and the rich people, everyone can be engaged in glorifying the Lord. Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Sundar, Radha Madhava, Janaki Janaki Balaba Ki Jai. So the kings would take the wealth and use it to satisfy all the citizens by building nice temples, putting on big festivals for the glorification of the Lord, and then also publishing books like Srimad Bhagavatam. Just like Prabhupada went to Mumbai and he went to see that Srimati Morariji and he requested her give some money to print Srimad Bhagavatam. And she agreed because she was a pious devotee. She understood this is proper use of wealth. We have to know how to use money properly. So devotee is very careful not to waste even 1 rupee for sense gratification. But for the service of the Lord, we can spend crores. There's no need to be miserly. Just like my godbrother, Mahavishnu Swami, when he was a young devotee in the UK, in London, we were putting on the Rathayatra festival there. So he was put in charge for the Rathayatra to organize it. Now, the only problem was, in the 1970s, we had no money. Just like in India, I came to Delhi in the 1970s, and we had no money. We lived very simply. We were only a few people, Westerners. We didn't even have books in those days. It was difficult to get paper, to get books printed. What to speak of put up a building. It was so difficult to do things then. So we were living in a very difficult time. Similarly, in London, we maintained the temple simply by book distribution. Whatever books we could sell in the street, we would use the funds to purchase more books and also to maintain the temple. So Mahavishnu Swami was supposed to put on Rathayatra, and Prabhupada was coming for the Rathayatra. So it happened that somebody in his family died. And when they died, he got an inheritance. They gave him, the person who died wrote a will, and in his will, he left Mahavishnu some money, a big sum of money, thousands of pounds. So Mahavishnu was in charge of the Rathayatra, so he said, I'm using all that money for Rathayatra. Nothing for the temple, it's all going for Rathayatra. And we had a really big festival. And Prabhupada came. Now usually when Prabhupada would come, he knew how much struggling was going on to maintain the temples. Even one time, they had a helicopter for Prabhupada. They brought Prabhupada from the airport in London to the temple by helicopter. So the next year Prabhupada came and he said, last year you brought me in the helicopter. He said, this year you're only bringing me in the car. The devotee said to Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada, we're still paying for the helicopter. So that was the situation, So Prabhupada knew, temple is really just live from one day to the next. To make the offering in the afternoon, to get some fruits to offer to the deities, because in those days, although it was 1970, we were worshipping Radha Landaneshwara. We had big Radha Krishna deities, and we were making regular offerings. The only problem was no money. So how to get money? We have to distribute a book. If there's no fruit for the deity, how to get fruit? We have to sell a book. So take a book, find a book, and then try to get somebody to buy the book, and then use the money to make the offering for the deities. So like that. So Prabhupada saw the Rathayatra. Oh, so nice, big Rathayatra. Wonderful prasadam, nice arrangement, lot of flowers. Prabhupada said to the devotees, where did you get the money? And so they told Prabhupada, this one devotee, he got the money, his family left the money to him. So he used it for Rathayatra. So Prabhupada said, oh, money well spent. Prabhupada liked to see that. He liked to see that we spent the money nicely in the service of Krishna. He didn't mind that we had no money. He just liked to see that we used whatever money we had for pleasing Krishna. So this is the Krishna conscious program, you know. Krishna, where we say, Yoga Kshema Vahamyaham. Krishna said, I carry what you lack, I preserve what you have. So sometimes Krishna gives, but sometimes, not all the time, Krishna wants to see how qualified we are to use everything carefully in his service. Very important for all of us that we become very responsible in doing everything nicely for Krishna. One time I remember in the Calcutta temple, the fruit offering was made in the afternoon, 4:30 generally, we just offer fruit. So Prabhupada said, bring me the maha. Prabhupada, he would always like to see what is being offered to the deities, and he would consider the quality. Sometimes he would not be happy, just like one time he went to South America, and when they brought the prasadam to him, he said, this is terrible. Who cooked this? So Prabhupada was very much concerned about the quality of the offerings to the deities. So I was in Calcutta in the 1970s, and Prabhupada asked for the fruit offering. The devotees, they brought the fruit to Prabhupada. Prabhupada tasted it, and then he said, who purchased this fruit? And it was a local Bengali devotee. He wasn't initiated, but he was coming regularly to the temple and he was doing service. So he said, call him in here. And so when the devotee came in, Prabhupada said, you bought this fruit? He said, you are Bengali and you don't know how to buy fruit? This fruit is not good quality. How you could buy fruit like this to offer to Lord Krishna? Very powerful Prabhupada instruction. How careful we have to be in using Krishna's money for serving Krishna. That we don't just spend money freely, but we use everything very carefully for the pleasure of Krishna. It is a great responsibility to use the energy, to use the Lakshmi for the service of Krishna. We must do it very carefully. It's, we shouldn't think, oh, money's easily coming, we have lots of money, don't worry, we just buy this, buy that. That is not the mood. We must be very careful to use every rupee for the pleasure of Krishna. Use it very nicely. So Prabhupada was teaching us so many things. He taught us also about cleaning the floor. One time Prabhupada saw some Western ladies who had come to India and they were cleaning the floor, but Prabhupada didn't like the way they were cleaning it. Prabhupada personally instructed them how to clean the floor. Just like here, this is a marble temple. So marble, Prabhupada said, every day you wash it, you put water there, and naturally it will begin to shine. Marble is like that. If every day you wash it, then it will shine. And so like the Prabhupada was instructing all of us how we have to care for everything in the service of Lord Krishna. So in the past, there was the Vedic society. There was the Brahmanas who would guide the kings. Of course, the Brahmanas became corrupted. The Brahmanas became degraded. And the result was Lord Buddha came. Because of the degradation of the Brahmanas, Lord Buddha came and led the people away from the Vedas. Right? The cause of Buddhism coming here in India was the degradation of the Brahmins. The Brahmins should never become corrupted and degraded. We must be very responsible. We want to show what is ideal Brahminical culture. Cultivating the mode of goodness, living simply, and teaching others how to use everything for the service of Krishna. So the Brahmanas would guide the kings. That they know the kings are getting taxes, and the Brahmanas would tell the kings how to use the wealth. The Brahmanas wouldn't take the king's wealth for themselves. That, oh, you have a lot of wealth, you should give some to me. That's not Brahmana. But the Brahmana's mode is to direct others how to satisfy the Supreme Lord, Krishna. That is required. So because of Buddhism coming here in India, the people gave up Vedic culture. Of course, it was Shankaracharya who then brought back the Vedic culture. And he brought back the Vedic culture with very strict, renounced Brahmins, which inspired people in the Vedic culture again. So again, Srila Prabhupada is also trying to re-establish the Vedic culture through this ISKCON society. That this division of the society, having Brahmins, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, is very good. This system is given by the Lord Himself. Chatur Varnam Maya Shristam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna said, I created this division of society. Atheistic people, they say, and the Buddhist people also, they preach that this division of society is not good. But actually the division of society is very good. But they're meant to cooperate together to help each other. The Brahmins are meant to guide, they're meant to give benefit to the society by their teaching and by their example of purity and simple living and austerity. These things inspire people in the Vedic culture. The Brahmanas teach the Kshatriyas, and the Kshatriyas, they give charity and protect the people from irreligion, and the Vaishyas, they can do their business and make money. Just like in India, there's a lot of wealthy Vaishyas. And some of the people, many of the Vaishyas, are very pious. And that's how we got this nice building here. A lot of the donors, they're all Vaishya people, and they donated for the service of Lord Krishna. And they want to see that the temple is used properly, and that the devotees are also fully engaged in the service of Krishna. As Prabhupada used to write to us, he said, the temple is not a place for eating and sleeping, but it's a base for the army to go out and fight Maya. That is required. We don't just build the big temples to eat and sleep. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was very discouraged when he got the big building in Bara Bazaar and the devotees were arguing, I will have this room, this should be my room. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati at that time mentioned to Srila Prabhupada, our Srila Prabhupada, that better to sell the marble and print books. Our real business is preaching. Of course, when there's sufficient funds, we should have nice temples. But the temples are to help more preaching, to facilitate more preaching, more devotees, more book distribution. Temples are not just for our comfort. It's for the service of the Lord that we have these wonderful temples. So now we're seeing Krishna give us many nice temples. It's very nice. And we must be very careful to use them carefully. Use everything nicely for the service of Krishna. So we will stop and ask if there are some questions or comments. Yes, Prabhu? Have we a microphone there?
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for such a beautiful class. Maharaj, I just wanted a clarification in terms of in the temple management system when we go, so there are devotees, there are cows and there are deities. So where the maximum funds should be used for which service, for the deities or the cows or for devotees? How to prioritize the funds to be used for which services, whether the deities, whether the cows, whether the devotees?
Okay, how do we know how much funds to use for the deities and for the cows and for the devotees? So just like here, of course, we have cows and we have devotees and we have the deities. So do we just only serve the deities and neglect the cows or neglect the devotees? Of course not. We have to take care of everything properly. It's a great responsibility to take care of deities. It's also a great responsibility to take care of cows. And it's also a very big responsibility taking care of devotees, looking after an ashram. Everything has to be properly adjusted. The deities have to be served nicely, with opulence as much as possible. But for devotees, of course, we don't live like kings, and we don't need to eat like kings, right? We eat simply. Not that we have to have rasgullas and sweet balls every day. Prabhupada, when I became a devotee, we had the program that a feast once a week. The Sunday feast. There was a Sunday feast. The rest of the week, staple food. Rice, dal, chapati, little sabji. Yeah, that's how we eat. Yeah, and we eat a little breakfast and then a full meal in the day. We don't eat much at night. Devotees, Prabhupada told us, don't eat grains after 4 in the afternoon. You don't want to be eating heavy food at night. That is not required. We should eat in the daytime. Right? Then you can keep healthy that way. It's for Ayurvedic also says like that. Ayurveda says this. Chinese medicine also says like that. If you follow the Chinese medicine system, it's very similar to Ayurveda. As the sun rises, the power of digestion increases. And as the sun sets, the power of digestion reduces. So you don't eat at night. Similarly, taking care of the cows. When you have cows, you have to make sure you have enough land for the cows. It's very important. Cows need to graze. You get some good land where they can graze, then it's not a problem to look after them. But if you keep cows simply locked up in a hut, or in a goshala all the time, they don't get any exercise. It's not fair. The cows, they have to get some land. They have to be able to move around a little bit. You don't want to restrict them too much. Give them some freedom, give them some grass, of course. They have to get their grass. So, it's a great responsibility to take care of cows. You have to be very... And of course, cows multiply very fast. You have to be very careful, that you don't let them expand too quickly. Otherwise it will become a big problem to maintain so many cows. And similarly with the deities, when we have too many deities, then it also becomes more of a problem. Because deities, we require servitors, you need pujaris, and you need cooks, and sometimes this is a problem, to get people to cook the offerings. In the beginning, sometimes we're very enthusiastic, right? We're very enthusiastic, we'll have all this and do all that, but then gradually, after a few years, oh, I'm tired, I need a break, oh, get somebody else. So we have to be very cautious to do everything nicely, and you have to make sure everything is maintained. You begin something, you cannot reduce. Whatever standard you set for the deity worship, you can never reduce it. Now we have had some problems in the Western countries. In America, for example, sometimes we got a very big temple, but then the devotees, of course, when they got the big temple, the devotees were all young men and brahmachari. But then gradually they get married. They become grihastas. And they don't live in the temple anymore. And you don't have many people living in the temple to do all the pujas and maintain the temple. And it becomes a problem. So these things have to be looked after. You have to be very cautious and very careful not to try to expand too much. So intelligence is required.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Any other question? Yes?
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, you were explaining how in the beginning days there was lack of funds and devotees were having difficulty in the services due to lack of money. So we see that sometimes when we take up some service, we look for the things first, like what all facilities do I have to perform this service. So what mood or attitude should we have that even if we have lack of facilities or things to do the service, but still we should be able to render the service properly? How we should do that? Even if we have lack of facilities or money for something, but still what mood should we carry so that the service is rendered properly?
What mood should we have in taking up a service? Yes, as you say, it's true, people often look at the material facilities which come with each service. You want somebody to be the pujari, they want to know, how much will you pay me? Am I going to get the maha every day? What benefits will I get? So, what should be our mood in doing service? Our mood should be, first of all, devotional service should be selfless, right? Ahaitaki apratihata, right? There should be no material motivation in performing service. If we're actually doing pure devotional service, then it has to be without material considerations. At the same time, we have to consider someone may be a householder. They have a family to support. So they have to consider what are their duties, what are their responsibilities. They have to be able to maintain their obligations to their family and to their children. You're maintaining some children, they have to go to school, you have to have some income to pay for their education and so on. And sometimes there are health problems. You may need to be paying medical bills and doctor bills and so on. So you have to consider, everyone has to consider their obligations in the material world. And on the basis of their material obligations, then they have to consider what particular service they can do. So you cannot just be, if one is a brahmachari, however, if one is free, not yet in family life, and one has no obligations, then the mood should be simply to please Krishna. So there are two considerations. You have to consider what is the position, what is the situation of the person. Does he have obligations? Does he have responsibilities? You know, if you're looking after your old mother and father, then you have some obligation. You're not so free. But if you are brahmachari, then the mood should simply be, I want to do whatever is pleasing to my spiritual master and Krishna, without consideration of circumstances. Prabhupada went to America, no money. He went there with no money. He didn't consider, he wasn't thinking, America's a rich country, I will get money. Prabhupada didn't think like that. Prabhupada told the people, when people in America said that to him, that, oh, you've come from a poor country, you've just come to our rich country, Prabhupada said, I have come to give you, not to take from you. So our mood has to be to give Krishna consciousness. That is very much required. We want to give Krishna to people. We don't need to beg from anyone. Krishna is not a poor man. We're serving the richest person. We have come to give to others. So when we have that giving mood, that's very nice. That is respected. People like to see that giving. When we give out books, you know, people are happy. Okay, so it's 9 o'clock. We have a lot of programs today. We will stop here now. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanande.